Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the West Yorkshire Football Show. It's a reduced lineup, but it's not a bad one, is it? Let's be honest, everyone. We haven't got Steve, we haven't got Chris, Jay, Dave. Everybody else just unfortunately can't make it tonight, but me and Gaz are holding the fort for tonight. So welcome, Gaz. How are you doing, mate?
Not bad, mate. We're not doing too bad. They've got the Oracle and they've got Jude or the Glue, whatever you want to call me. So, to be honest, they've got the best two, haven't they?
Absolutely, mate. Absolute deadly duo. Keeping fort for tonight's podcast. So much appreciated everybody who's going to tune in tonight. Don't forget you can like and subscribe us. We are on YouTube and we are on X as well. So do get in touch with us. It's really appreciated. You got to keep me and Gaz company tonight because you know what, we will be talking football all night long. But listen, we've got families and stuff to see to. So let's get your comments in and keep us company and get us involved. We're going to try something a little bit different between me and Gaz because listen, we know our stuff compared to other lads. We don't like to tell them this, but we're going to set a bit of a question for everyone, just basically because I was saying this to Gaz a couple of minutes before we went live. I'm a bit of a rugby league fan. And for those of you in and around the area may know that Rugby League went on tour, so to speak, last week and played the first competitive game outside of the UK in Las Vegas, where they started the actual day itself with Wigan against Warrington, followed by an NRL fixture, then a women's fixture, and then they were finishing with another NRL fixture. So it's basically a full day's worth of action in Las Vegas, under the lights, and it looks spectacular. And apparently, we've got some rave reviews. So I'm going to ask Gaz this, but we're going to ask the question to everybody else. So do get in touch with us because it'd be really interesting to get your thoughts. We know this has been asked before in the Premier League, but would you like to see your club play a competitive game outside of the UK? Go on, Gaz. Would you fancy seeing Bradford City against Aki Stanley over in Miami?
Absolutely not for me. That's just not for it's bad, but no. I think we need to remember that these football clubs are community assets, and they belong to the local community. I just think it's a little bit of chasing the coin, a little bit of chasing the money. Shouldn't have said that. Should have chased the coin, but chasing the money. People, businessmen wanting to make as much money and further their brands as much as they can. I would be interested to know, obviously, I think we can probably gather from the reaction about Game 39 that we've talked, obviously been mooted in the past in the Premier League, and the general reaction to that most football fans, I think, the majority of football fans weren't for it, or football fans in this country weren't for it. Obviously, you've got the flip side of the argument where it's the global game, and obviously fans from other countries will have been all for it if they thought that they could get the opportunity to see their team. I would be interested to know what rugby league fans thought of that in general. Were rugby league fans likely to go over to the United States to watch these games? Because I know you've got a lot of... I don't know how it works in rugby league. I don't follow rugby league, Lou, like you do. It's not my sport. But obviously in football, you've got fans that will go to every game and will not miss a game all season. So are rugby league fans the same? Do they go to every game? How would they feel about having to travel to the United States to watch a game? Because obviously, I think with the football, I think that was the thing that a lot of people had against it. In that I can't afford to go to America to watch a game. I fork enough out as it is. What do you think rugby league fans' opinions of it are? Were they positive about it, or were they not so positive about it?
I think there's a bit of both between it. I think there's. Listen, it's quite tribalistic in terms of if you're a football fan, you support this team. Rugby league does feel a little bit different. Don't get me wrong, you do obviously follow your team, but there seems to be it's a very different dynamic. And I know in rugby league as well, they have the Magic Weekend, and they've had various ones in Championship as well. Just as we speak, somebody wanted to know where Mr. Stephen Downs was, as if by absolute magic.
Did they actually?
Here he is. This is a comment. Look, Ben, where's Downsy at? Here he is, Ben. Here he is, mate.
Your fan club were missing you, Downsy.
I know, I can't believe it. Ben, I've come in at the last moment. It's been a hectic day, but we're here. So, what's the comment?
Hey, there we go.
What's the conversation?
I'm just going to set the scene a little bit, Downsy, just to get some people's comments, because we're getting already a fair few, which I'll show in a bit, is rugby league, I'm a follower, and we've seen rugby league on tour. And Ben's made a really fair point in the comments that it has happened outside of the UK, Catalans, Toulouse, etc. I'm probably more talking about two English teams playing completely outside the usual four walls.
In America.
But obviously, we've seen it in Las Vegas. You've been involved in rugby league as well. And my question was, would you like to see your club play a competitive game outside of the UK? Now, Gaz isn't fancying a trip to Miami to watch the Bantams against Aki Stanley. So would you take Downsy a trip to Sydney to watch Huddersfield v Lincoln with Chris?
No, I wouldn't, to be honest. No, I couldn't be on a plane for 7 hours with Christopher. But it's interesting because there was thought about obviously we've got American owners now, so there was a thought process about maybe a friendly between Town and Sacramento at some stage. I know when Nago first took over, that was very heavily muted. So I don't know. You get some Town fans, like we go pre-season now every year to Austria or Germany or whatever, and there's loads of Town, like this season, loads of Town fans went over, stayed over, made a week of it or a weekend of it, so why not? But for me, regular league games, proper football league games, Premier League games, FA Cup games, if it's a competitive fixture, it should stay in this country. But I'm a bit of a traditionalist at heart when it comes to that. I think rugby league's slightly different because it always tries to do a different thing. Yeah. Having worked in rugby league, unfortunately, I always describe, because of I was on the inside, I kind of have a good knowledge of like how people think about rugby league. And what the RFL always struggle with is the fact, if you imagine a pie, right, and you put it in the oven. I know, but this is a really good analogy, right? The pie on the outside is absolutely beautifully done, crispy, it's lovely, and the centre of the pie, which is like clubs like Dewsbury, Batley, Hunslet, Keighley, your staunch clubs that have been there since the beginning, nearly since the beginning for over 150, 30 years or whatever. They're always the clubs that struggle and get left behind. And that's the problem with the RFL. It's always looking for the next opportunity instead of strengthening the game from the inside, the core of it. Another thing rugby league doesn't have going for it, which football always naturally has, even at non-league level, is that junior element, that younger element coming through. Rugby league just doesn't have that. So, listen, it was a good exercise, like the fact that the game's going to be in America. I don't think the 25,000 people that they're saying is going to travel over is going to go over. But it's interesting. But I just think for regular games, for football-wise, it should always be played in this country.
I kind of agreed with your first point, Downsley. When you said about a pre-season friendly or a tour. Because we kind of do that already a lot, don't we? I know City have been to Austria. I think Town went to Austria as well, didn't they, in pre-season?
Yeah, we could have played each other.
We could have done, yeah. I know City have been to Spain before. Obviously, Scotland's a lot easier to get to. They've been there. So pre-season's a little bit different on a competitive fixture. I think they need to stay in this country. And obviously, Ben's put in the comments about Catalans and Toulouse. Obviously, that's something that's already happened, isn't it, with rugby league? So it is different in rugby league, and that's already happening. So, is it that big a stretch to just take it to America? Do you know what I mean?
But when Toronto was in the league, right, and I know this for a fact because I worked for a rugby league club when we played Toronto. Toronto paid the entire opposite club to come over, so there was no cost to the club realistically, except for the players' wages or win bonuses that weekend. Not that anybody ever beat Toronto, and that's why they don't properly exist anymore, because it just failed, because the guy behind Toronto sort of lost all the interest of the argument about, they couldn't keep paying teams to just go over there. It was costing absolute thousands and thousands of pounds. So, yeah. And obviously, that's what I'm saying. The inner core clubs, they can't afford it. They struggle to go over to Toulouse. And I've been there.
That's the same for the supporters as well, isn't it? I think there's already an argument. There's an argument in this country that match-going fans are being disregarded to a certain extent. Obviously, with this new Sky deal and the moving of kickoff times, and obviously it's already been going on in the Premier League. You've seen for years where you've seen situations where games are kicking off at a time that make it either impossible for fans to get to the game from the home city, or to get home from the game to their home city around the kickoff time on the same day. And like I said, this Sky deal seems to. I've heard City fans. I mean, it's made it difficult for me moving games to 12:30. That's just a simple move of a 3-hour move on a Saturday. There's talk that obviously we've seen it already. Some League One and League Two games are being moved to Thursday nights and Monday nights. So there is this element already that match-going fans have been a little bit disregarded in that respect, and I think it just make it worse, wouldn't it? I think that might just be a bit too far to take it to America. That's just my personal opinion. What do you think?
What's your
I think it's a fascinating one. I can see it happening. I can see it happening in the next 5 to 10 years, if I'm being honest. I think, like you said, Downsy, you're right. Rugby league do think outside the box a little bit more, but they've probably got a little bit of more scope to do that. I've known a few people actually who have gone out to Vegas to watch it, and they absolutely loved it. They thought it was an experience of a lifetime, which I get. And ironically, I agree with Benny. To be fair, wouldn't mind watching Huddersfield, Leeds and Vegas. Can take him for a week's holiday. I mean, Benny, you can pay for us all if you're going to do that, mate. But I think
it's different from football, though, isn't it? Because there's already soccer over there. Rugby league, getting Yanks to understand rugby league is like getting a child to understand, putting an Xbox together from scratch.
I could see it happening. I think, but whether you get them across for the whole of a day, like what happened in rugby league. But I think it's an interesting debate. I think, listen, we'll put it out there. We've already had a few people get in touch with us. James, regular visitor to the channel, so thanks, James. I think it's great for rugby league, but not for football. We've seen from Ben as well. Ian,
it's like American football over here, isn't it?
Ian wants a pre-season tour of Scotland, Gaz, so maybe you can join him, mate, on the next.
Been there and done that, Ian. Did you like it that much, Ian? We'll go back.
Ian wants to go. Ian wants to go to Kilmarnock, doesn't he? And Stranhouse. He wants all them sort of clubs, doesn't he? You can tell.
So yeah, do get in touch with us. Listen, that is going to be the question. We'll pose it throughout the rest of the stream. So, would you like to see your club play a competitive game outside of the UK? Do get in touch. Get us on X. Get us on Facebook. Get us here, whatever you want to do, YouTube, and we'll within reason try and give you a shout out as well. And we're also, I know James who's getting in touch as well. James has sent us a question on X as well after we posted earlier today about some talking points, which we'll get to later on. Now, chaps, I know it's not our clubs, and I know the resident experts are not out there. But let's kick off with the ones who are doing really well and kind of leading away. Leeds United. Let's talk about Leeds for 5-10 minutes. Downsy. Apologies, you're not.
I thought you were going to say Farsley. I thought that's what you were going to say. They're doing really well.
No, fully. So just to kind of touch on Leeds, for those obviously listeners and watchers, subscribers who obviously Leeds mad, leading away at the moment, top of the table. Let's just reflect on the weekend's action and what's coming up this week. So kind of, obviously, they've won all draw against West Brom. I don't know if you chaps have seen it. I mean, Downsy, you can kick off with Leeds. That can, ruffle a few feathers because I know what you like.
No, I don't need to. I don't need to.
How do you think they're getting on? Like, obviously, that draw against West Brom, they followed up 2 really, really good victories with a home draw. It could have gone either way as well, watching the game and the highlights. Your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I think, listen, I think most Leeds fans, it's kind of game where probably there was a bit more intensity about it because of how good West Brom can be as a side. Although I do think Leeds have got the best squad in the division and can pretty much beat anybody. Obviously, Sheffield United got the result the other night, didn't they? So it took it, sort of like the gap has closed again slightly. I think they were the evening kickoff and Leeds were the lunchtime kickoff. So I think there's always a bit of pressure on lunchtime kickoffs, to be honest. But yeah, from what I saw, West Brom played quite well. But again, Leeds dominated the game, just couldn't put them chances away. The goal that they scored was good. But yeah, listen, if Leeds don't go up, then it's a bit of a travesty, isn't it, really? I mean, they would be immensely disappointed with the position that they're in.
I'm listening to the chaps, Brownie and Joe, unfortunately can't make it tonight, and obviously they react on our channel, don't they, of the game. I know they were reacting of kind of how the game went, how they feel it's gone, and obviously the goals come from a set piece. I mean, Gaz, you've seen the likes of Burnley being absolutely rock solid in the Championship. I mean, it's scary to think a team has conceded, 9 goals in 34 games, which is absolutely frightening.
Yeah.
In terms of Leeds, obviously, they've pretty much scored nearly double the amount of goals, but do you think the defence is something that they just need to keep an eye on for the rest of his campaign? Because from, like I said, 5-point lead, which is what they've always wanted, is now gone to 3. So already that cushion has seemed to have disappeared a bit.
Possibly, Lou, but I think it's nitpicking a little bit. I think we're all of the opinion, aren't we, on it? I mean, you're asking for trouble talking to a Huddersfield and City fan about Leeds. but we are all of the opinion, aren't we? I think, I know Brownie's nervous fan and he worries about stuff, but I think the other 6 of us in that group chat are firmly of the opinion that Leeds will go up this year, probably as champions. As you say, the gap has dropped from 5 to 3 points, but they are still 3 points clear of second. And to be honest, to me, if I were a Leeds fan, I've been thinking the same about City. Does it matter if you finish first or second? No, it doesn't, because you're still going up to the Premier League next year. And the gap to Sheffield United, the gap to Burnley in 3rd place is 8 points. So you're still firmly in the box seat. You're still firmly looking like you're going to win the league. It's definitely finish top 2 and go up. You're not going to win every game. I looked and they had won 5 on the bounce in the league prior to Saturday. So you're not going to win every game, is what I'm going to say. You've got to take a draw here and there. And like I said, I do think you'll firmly go up. When you talk about Burnley, I think it's worth noting that at the weekend they made, I can't remember if they made 9 or 10 changes in the FA Cup at the weekend and shipped 3 at Preston. So it just shows you that it's not a little injury here or there. You know, it just throws a spanner in the works, and nobody's going to be perfect every single week. So I don't think they've got to worry about. Like I say, I say it every week on here. 16 months, a bit, they'll go up as champions probably.
How do you? I'll throw it back to you, guys, before we just move back to you, Downsy. In terms of the job Daniel Farke's done, how do you rate it across the Championship and probably across the divisions? For me personally, I've said it before, I think at the moment, if he does get them up and where they are, it's one of the best jobs around the UK of what he's done. How do you feel?
I don't think you can knock what he's done at all, mate. His record in the Championship's there for everyone to look at. It speaks for itself. Obviously, last year, they're disappointed they didn't go. Last year, it was just an anomaly. It was an anomaly of a season because of what Ipswich and Leicester and Leeds all did, to be honest. The job that he's done in the Championship, like I said, I'm certain, as certain as I can be that they'll go up this year. My question with Daniel Farke is, as an outsider looking at Leeds, is what it's been before and what it still is, and we've talked to Jay and Brownie on this, is how he'll cope if they go up into the Premier League, because his record in the Premier League isn't what it is in the Championship. And I know there are mitigating circumstances with that, in that Norwich won't spend the money anywhere near the money that probably the Leeds will be prepared to spend. But that is the question for me around Daniel Farke. His record in the Championship and his record at Leeds, you just can't sniff at it. I really don't think you can.
No, I think that's fair. I mean, just a few comments coming in from listeners and subscribers. Really appreciated, Ben. Keep getting wins and draws. Can't see either Burnley or Sheffield United catching them. James has been listening to Downsy too much. It's a terrible shame, but Leeds have smashed it finally. Downsy, that sounds like you, mate. Listen, we've also, and I'll come on, there's another comment that's coming in a bit, which is amazing to see as well. Ben, again, kind of don't get the Farke hate, is a top gaffer. In terms of the next fixture, Downsy, Portsmouth away, long trip on a Sunday. How do you feel that one go? Because these feel like, listening to the lads earlier in the week, and obviously they were top of everyone, obviously after beating Sheffield United and Sunderland. They felt like that was the most difficult on paper, the fixture they could face. But these are the fixtures that last year they kind of slipped up a bit. I remember went to QPR and lost 4-0. I'm not saying they're going to do this at Portsmouth, but you feel like these fixtures are absolutely your bread and butter of what Leeds need to do to get over the line. They've done so well, they've got themselves in a position, but it's these games in it down that really determines your season.
You can't go beat Sheffield United and then lose to Portsmouth if you want to go win the league or get promoted. That's not how football works. You need to, like you say, you need, the special performances are the ones against your rivals that are up there, or the teams that are battling with you. And then, like you say, your bread and butter are the results that you need to go win. Not just 1-0 either. You need to go and win comfortably to show some, to the fans and go forward and get the lads, even more confidence than what they've got. You need to go beat teams like Portsmouth 4-0, 5-0. But I tell you what, going down to Fratton Park, it's one of them grounds that I always feel, you know, with the Pompey fans there, they get right behind the team, particularly at home, and it's against one of the teams down there that, you know, you'd say is probably the harder fixture to play against. Like I said, the atmosphere, the length of the trip, the fact it's on Sunday, it all points to a good game. And obviously, Pompey give Leeds a good game, didn't they? At the first game of the season, still over dispute a penalty within the chat, and I don't think Jay will ever forgive the referee on that occasion, although it wasn't a penalty. So shut up, Jay. You know. So it's a fact of the matter that I think it's going to be a difficult fixture. Going back to Farker, just touching on that point, yeah, he's done a great job. He's done what he was expected to do, or is expecting to do. You know, I think, yeah, it's a good job. I think they've spent a bit of money. They have backed him as manager. I think some Leeds fans are that warped, unfortunately, that they just won't be happy if anything but Bielsa comes back. And I think you've got to move on, like we have with Wagner, although we've just moved on to crap, except for now that Duff's come in, / Warnock. But, yeah, it's not this season that they need to be worrying about Farker. It's next season. And, yeah, I get what everybody's saying about what he did with Norwich and the fact that they didn't spend any money and Dealey didn't get the pound note out of the purse. But, you know, if he's backed next season when they're up and he doesn't perform, it just proves to me that he can't manage up a division. You know, some managers are just good championship managers, aren't they? I bet, you know, Neil Warnock will say he's a really fantastic, one of their best in the championship. Is he a great Premier League manager? No, but he's a fantastic Football League manager. And some people are just like that. I don't think Chris Wilder at Sheffield is a fantastic Premier League manager by any stretch. But I think he's a great Football League manager. I think, he has shown that in every division. So, yeah, he's doing what he's expected to do. And he will get Leeds promoted. They will go up, although I really hope they get in the playoffs because that will be funny again. But it's not this season. It's next season for me, Lou.
Fair dues. You think, so quick one for you guys, starting with you guys. Sunday against Portsmouth, how do you see it going?
I'd just like to touch on something just before I make that prediction. And something Downsy said there about, he mentioned Bielsa, and it just made me think of something Jay posted in the group chat. I think it was back end of last week, and it was a comparison between Bielsa in 1920 season and Farker this season. Yeah. Now, but after 34 games, which is what, I don't know if this was before they played West Brom or after, I can't remember, but after 34 games, Bielsa had won 18, Farker's won 22. Bielsa had 62 points. Farker's got 75. Bielsa had a plus goal difference of 19. Farker's plus goal difference is 50. Now, I jokingly went back to Jay on that and said that just shows you that Bielsa weren't all that. But it does just show you, I think, what a good job Farker's doing. And I just think it's worth noting. I just think it's worth noting.
You didn't joke, guys. You pressed a button and you knew which button you were pressing, my friend. And I didn't see that comment, but I would have pressed it even harder with you if I'd have seen it. That's just because I'm blind, by the way. But yeah, I agree. I think that comes into the fact, guys, that when you get a manager, generational manager like Parkinson with you, or Wagner with us, or Warnock back in the 90s with us, those stick. Like, if Duff gets us promoted this season, will he be as liked as what Grayson was? Now that would be an interesting comparison, because Grayson got us out of this division last time we were in it, and he's not figured to be a great town manager, although he's got one of the better win percentages. So it'd be interesting.
As for Portsmouth, Lou, I think Leeds, I don't think they'll lose. I think they'll probably win. But again, having looked at what I said before about you can't win every game, is drawing away at Pompey. That bad a result considering Pompey are fighting for every point at the moment. They're still not safe from relegation, are they? And we all know what Fratton Park can be like, especially when somebody like Leeds rock up. So I don't think a draw is a disaster, but I think they'll win the game.
Magic. We'll just let Downsy finish his bottle of water till we get his thoughts on it, Downsy. Portsmouth.
Yeah.
It's fine, mate. We're on the
Leeds.
live. We'll come back, mate. Don't worry about it. Portsmouth Leeds. How do you find it going Sunday?
Hey, I've got to keep hydrated with my opinions. Leeds for Portsmouth nil, and there to be a dodgy penalty in there, so we can all have a great laugh.
Magic. Thanks all. That wraps up everything about Leeds United. Thanks, chaps. We'll move on swiftly to Huddersfield Town in a little bit, but we have posed a question out, which we're getting some really good comments on. So we asked the question at the beginning of the show: would you like to see your club play a competitive game outside of the UK? And look at this, chaps. We're going global, right?
Oh, here's my boys.
Jed's here from Bondi.
The Town fans, here they are.
Here we are. We're coming in force. Would be great seeing away the weekend here in Sydney. Jed, I mean, if you've got like a mansion or something and you've got, 5 or 6 spare rooms that you could put us all up, you know where we are, Jed. And away day, to be honest, guys, it sounds appetizing now going to Sydney for this away day.
I wouldn't say no. Can we time it when Ashes are playing, when it's Ashes next year as well, and we'll watch a bit of cricket while we're there?
No, Gaz, shut up. You've lost me now. I can't watch cricket, mate. I can't see ball. I'd rather go to Opera House and see a bit of opera.
It's all about the sound. Leather on Willow, Downsy.
Is it?
Right, let's move on. Let's move on with that one. Thanks, chaps, for that one. So, yeah, do get your comments in. We'll show, obviously, in between the bits of our clubs and leagues as well to get your thoughts on that one. So, Downsy, over to you. Yeah. The Terriers get back to winning ways at Stevenage. Crisis over, huh?
HMS Pistol League's back on track, boys. Woo! No, I think, listen, it was a win. That's about all it was. It was a win. It wasn't a good win, but it was a win. The performance apparently wasn't the best, but in the process of what we've gone through in the last couple of weeks, I think Duff was very relieved. You could tell on camera and today in the presser, actually, he looked a bit happier. We had a few players back on the bench. Joe Taylor. He gave Ben Wiles a rest, and Evans went into midfield, although he's still got this toe injury, but he could change it around, go back to his system, which we know has been a big debate on the Town Talk shows, with our regular pundit Kane on there, and your best friend Lou. But yeah, I think, it was a good result. It was one that was needed, but the big game's tomorrow, chaps. It's a big game tomorrow now.
Huge in it, Downsy. I'll just go. Say we'll touch on that. I mean, how do you see that panning out? I mean, Gaz, you've been there as a Bradford City fan, where you're almost a game or two away from a so-called crisis. I know Huddersfield have had it a little bit tough in recent weeks, but kind of outside looking in, that win against Stevenage away from home, as you well know, like I said from your days with Bantams, it feels like you can get a bit of momentum now, can't you? A tricky away tie. People probably expect you to get a draw maybe and kind of a bit of discontent, but it feels like maybe just dilute a little bit that noise.
Yeah, we talked before we came on, didn't we, Lou, about City are always 2 games away from a crisis despite what run they're in. It feels a little bit like that with Town, the way Downsy talks sometimes about the way the fans, their attitude towards Duff and their expectations. And I think it's fair to have expectations, but what's got to happen now, and I think I'm saying this as an outsider looking in, but you've got to build on that win at Stevenage. That's your first win in 3. I'll just look this up before. It's your first win in 3, but it's a third win in 10. You need to build on it now. You can't go and lose a couple of games straight afterwards. You're still firmly in those playoffs, and you're only 6 points off the autos. If you can get a result at Wrexham tomorrow night, it's absolutely massive for you. It really is. It could be season defining.
It's crazy how we're still 5th, Gaz. It's absolutely mad how we're still 5th with run that we've been on, mate. I'm not going to lie.
And it just shows you, I think, that the run that you need to get in the playoffs or to finish in the top 6 in League 1, top 7 in League 2 is totally different to having to get in the top 3. It is you can come from nowhere to get in the playoffs. You can have a bang average season and still finish in the playoffs. It'll be a tough game tomorrow night. Are you at home tomorrow night or away, Downsy?
We're at home, so we drew 0-0 at Wrexham, and it was a very tactical game. Actually, there wasn't a lot in it, to be honest, between the two sides. Obviously, both sides have made signings and changed a little bit, but and both have got injuries as well, as we well know with Town. But I think Phil Parkinson was in the ground the other day against not Reading. Whoever the last home game was, sorry, I forgot, because we were that rubbish. Wigan, not Wigan. Anyway, he was at the last home game, and I just think
Peterborough, maybe
I wasn't
Peterborough.
there. That Peterborough, that was it. I was in Leeds when I was getting. I'd had 17 pints by the time full time score came in. He was drink responsibly. There are other Heineken bottles available. But yeah, in terms of the press box, there was Phil Parkinson in the director's box, and there was a lot of comment after the game thinking, what will Phil Parkinson be thinking of this town side? Like, he must have walked out after the Peterborough game thinking, hell, like, all we have to do here is turn up properly, because they're not going to put much of a test up. So the win against Stevenage is very good timing. I also think it's good timing that some of the players are coming back now. Ruben Ruskin played very well at Stevenage the other day, put some great crosses in apparently from the left, and was most people's man of the match. So, yeah, it's a massive game tomorrow. If we win that, if you look at the table, we win that, and I know Wickham are going to play, but we go within about 4 points, 3 points of top three. I mean, that's massive, really, from where we were, two games ago. So it's big. The other home game against Wickham in a couple of weeks, that's going to be massive as well. I still think there's an outside chance. I'm dreaming here, but there's an outside chance of top two, and that is a dream. But there is a chance.
How do you think it's going to go then tomorrow against Wrexham? Listen, everybody knows what goes on at Wrexham. Third in the league, 2 points outside the top two from Wickham. Recruited really strongly. I mean, there's not many teams in League One that are going to be able to get the likes of Jay Rodriguez and Sam Smith in as well. But they look solid. I mean, quickly start with you guys. Kind of just a bit of insight into what you're going to get from Phil Parkinson's team. For those who've not seen Wrexham and the teams that he creates, what kind of opposition do you think Town are going to be up against?
What you'll get with Parky is, we always used to say this at City, Parky's a big game manager. He's very good in the big games. The only big games I ever remember him struggling in at City were the ones against Steve Evans. Steve Evans was like his kryptonite, because every other big game, you saw us in the cup runs, the playoffs, big games, yeah. Parky knows what he's doing. Very direct. We know Parky's direct. Always played 4-4-2 at City. Tended to have one winger that was lightning quick and one winger that had a bit more of a workhorse, but could finish as well. What you will get, the Town are going to have to be ready for the fight down there. They're going to have to stand up and they're going to have to scrap, because Parky has his teams scrapping and battling and fighting, and he will have them drilled to do that tomorrow night.
Yeah, that's what it was like in the first game, Gaz.
That's what he is, mate. That's what he does.
There was very little spectacular football played, mate. Not going to lie. No. In that first fixture, it was get down into the mud and, old-fashioned football, really, in a sense. Who's got the bigger, cojones to go and win it, really?
Yeah. It will be, like I say, he'll be very direct. He'll have them very well organised. He'll have them scrapping for every header, every loose ball. You're just going to have to be up for it, is what I will say. If you're up for it, and you've got to earn the right to play against a Parkinson team. I'd be interested. Like, obviously, there was that. What's the feeling towards Parkinson at Huddersfield Downsy after what happened all those years ago with the empty chair at the press conference? Is there still a bit of nagging bitterness there, or has it all sort of been forgotten?
Nah, I think it's been forgotten, mate. To be honest, I think, yeah, because it's a weird one, really. A lot of like your modern fans, like me, like. I'd say my age, we got more bitterness towards, obviously, Leeds, because we've played Leeds more. I know a lot of the old Town fans have got more of it. It's a weird one at Town. Like, depends what decade you were born into, which one you hate more, City or Leeds, to be honest. Like, I don't remember that many games against City. Obviously, we had that one in the FA Cup it must have been about 14 years ago now, when Hansen and Wells turned up, and then we bought Wells off you, didn't we? But we haven't had that many games against you, have we? Like, definitely none at Valley Parade that I can remember. So I don't think there's that much bitterness towards him. I think what I'd do tomorrow, I'll be honest, they're talking about all this ramataz and getting fireworks up, and which we had a couple of games ago against Birmingham. I'd scrap all that. And I'd put crap in the tea. I wouldn't even wash the away dressing room. I'd make. No, I would. No, because they're going to turn up, aren't they? They're definitely going to turn up with all cameras and all razzmatazz and all that going, because that's what they're about. And fair play to them. Like, I ain't got anything against Wrexham. I've really enjoyed watching the documentary. And listen, they've played it absolutely brilliantly with how the owners have ran the club. They've let proper football people take proper football problems on, and they've just done what they're good at. Where obviously that's not quite happened at Town. But tomorrow, that's what I'd make the John Smith Stadium, which we know it can be, one of the worst grounds to come to in terms of its. Like, I wouldn't make it a nice, friendly atmosphere tomorrow. I'd go, right, if you want to come and beat us, come and beat us then. We've been on a crap run. You know, half at fan base thinks that we're a crap team. Well, come and prove it then. Come and prove that you deserve to play in the Championship and that you want to be promoted. If Parkinson wants a scrap, let's make it a scrap, but let's not give him any niceties about it. You know, they've kind of got them sort of players, haven't they, Gaz, as well, which he definitely had at City, didn't he? People like Gary Jones that will go and headbutt, 17 people. Probably a nice lad is Gary, but he did come across as that sort of fella, didn't he? On a football pitch. Like, you wouldn't want to mess with him, would you? And they've got a few of them, haven't they? James McLean and just absolute knobheads, but good knobheads to have in your squad. They've got Che Rodriguez there now, haven't they? Who I fancied to have him at Town when we went into the Premier League. I think he'd have been a great buy, but obviously that never happened. So
Gary Jones isn't what he looks like at all. Gary Jones is only happy when he's won at 5 o'clock on a Saturday, but he's not. He was never ever a dirty player at all. What he was, but he don't. Yeah, he was the type of player that he grabbed the rest of when the chips were down. He grabbed the rest of the team by the bollocks and make sure they got a point. That's what Gary Jones was.
But you wouldn't want to mess with him, would you?
You know what I mean? Yeah.
But you wouldn't want to go into a tackle with him, would you? Would you, Gaz? You know what I mean?
Probably not. Well, I won't go and tackle anyone. I'm a big softy.
He's a lover of matches. I
love or not, they are.
I'm a bit nervous for it. I'm a bit nervous for it tomorrow, boys. Actually, I think it's one of them games that can not decide a season, but it can. It's like Duff was saying after the Stevenage game. We've been on a good run, then a really bad run, then a 16 unbeaten run. Now we've been on a bad run. Well, we're at a point of the season now that the squad kind of has to determine where we want to go. You know what I mean? What is this season going to be for us?
I think that's a really fair point, Dan. That's the way I've seen it. I was watching and listening to Duff's interview earlier with the local media, and listen, there's not much you could really say that's any different. But do you feel, before we kind of move on from Town, that tomorrow, like you said, you've got to create an atmosphere, haven't you, where Wrexham don't want to be there, but you've got to create an atmosphere that really gets behind the players and Duff and the management, because we've spoken in recent weeks, but it's not always felt like that. It's been a bit quiet, there's been a bit discontent, but this feels like a real pivotal moment in the season, doesn't it? I mean, if you go beat Wrexham tomorrow, expectations get a little bit higher, can again dilute the noise a little bit further. What you're losing is a bit moaning and groaning around the stands. It feels very different. And you want 4 points, inside the playoff, so to speak, away from Bolton. Wrexham haven't won in the past 2. So there's an opportunity there, isn't there, Downs? You feel that Town could possibly do something.
I'd use the whole good feeling at Wrexham against them in my team talk if I were Duff. I'd sort of say, look, lads, people come into this game and people outside of this fixture just think that Wrexham's going to win. Why don't you go embarrassing in front of the cameras on your own documentary? Who in this dressing room wants to be stand up and be counted for this football club? Because it's now that we need you to stand up and play like we know that you can play. So forget over razzmatazz, forget everything that, the future and everything like that. Just go out and win a game in 90 minutes. And that really should be all his speech. Like, obviously, say it a bit better than what I've just said it there. But, give that sort of message of who gives a crap about the cameras. You go embarrass them on their own TV screens, because that really would do their head in. So I'm nervous for it. I think I've got a feeling, I get feelings about Town, and I just think we'll win. We'll go for my usual 2-1 prediction, but I've just got a feeling we'll turn up tomorrow. We haven't turned up in any big games this season, bar Bolton away, which we won 4-0, and Ian Evatt were under big pressure at that time. In every other game that's been big, we haven't really turned up. So this is the moment.
Fab. Before again we move on, I'm going to get this and listen. With a podcast with a show that does it every Monday, and I know that you'll probably be reacting to some of the games as well, Downsy. But obviously, you do have a game Saturday. We ain't taking one game at a time because we can't possibly do that because, like I say, we do it on a Monday night. So your next game, Bristol Rovers away at the weekend. Do you want to quickly touch on that one from a Town perspective?
Yeah. Well, like a bit like what we just said about Leeds, about Sheffield United. Like, if we go beat Wrexham tomorrow, you can't then go to a struggling Bristol Rovers side who are, what are they, 19th in the table or 20th in the table, that, they're really bad in form at the moment and struggling. So you can't go there and then lose. And that's the sort of team that, like Northampton this season, Stevenage, Shrewsbury, that we've struggled against, and we really, really can't afford to be going there and losing. I've been down to Bristol when we went to Bristol City and we lost 4-0. And 3-0 in first half. It's a long trip down there for whoever's going. But yeah, we need to win games. Like Gaz says, we need to go on a run now.
There we go.
To build on it, haven't you? I noticed that Ben says he can't remember the Parkinson incident at the press conference. I'm sure you can remember it, can't you, Lou?
You know what? I can't, Gaz.
When he basically, it's on you. It used to be on YouTube. He agreed to become manager, and then he gave him backword on the morning that they were due to reveal him. There's an empty chair at the press conference, and this is well before he rocked up at City. This is like, I'd say maybe 3-4 years before he rocks up at City. Right. Obviously, it was.
What year did he rock up at City?
It was 2012 he rocked up at City. Was this about 2007, Downsy, something like that?
I think it were under Davy when Davy were. I don't think it were under Hoyle. I think it were under Davy, and Ken Davy were as chairman at the time. And I do remember it. I have watched it on YouTube, and it is bad. But I think just because it's that long ago, like fans of, like I say, it's not one of them that if you sort of canvass 90% of Town fans, or 100%, of Town fans, I bet less than 25 of them, 25% Gaz would say, "Oh yeah, we really hate Phil Parkinson."
Yeah. And just the point I was making, obviously, was that the rivalry between cities is different. Like you mentioned there, like obviously, I think that you made a really good point about what decade you started following Town in, because obviously I started going to City in the early 90s, and we played Town every season. We never played Leeds. Leeds were like division or 2 divisions above us, but City played Town twice a season. So I think my generation.
But you don't have any hatred to like in all our chats that we have in the WhatsApp group. Maybe it's just because you can't.
We're not fighting, mate.
We're not fighting,
it's true though. Like Gaz never comes at me for any Town crap. But like, to be fair, he does get stuck into jail, which I just love that.
I'll never go for anybody, mate. Me. What?
No. But you can start going for Chris if you want, because he's peeing us all off. To be honest,
the Town thing with City really ramped up in the late 90s after the Gordon Wilson leg break and after the comments that came from Town after that. It just didn't. It riled a lot of City fans up. But that's for another debate.
We'll move on to City in just a bit, Gaz, so you can have your stage to talk about City. Jed's got in touch with 6-pointed if ever this. Obviously, he's back with Wrexham game. Good town for Town to win. First game of 2025 at home. Cheers, Jed. Quick one from Ben again, who's prolific on the comments tonight. Wants Downs' opinion. Say they beat Wycombe and Wrexham. Do we get autos? Yes or no? One word, Downs. Go.
Oh, God.
That's two. Come on.
I know, but it's going to be clipped up. Yeah, go on then. Yeah, Ben, let's have it.
Right, that's more than one. Thank you, Downsy. Massive, brilliant.
Just by the way, I love the fact that Jed watches us, and I know for a fact it's like, 8 a.m. in Australia right now. But he's probably eating his cornflakes watching this. It's fantastic.
In the sunshine and Bondi Beach, what else do you want in life? That's amazing.
What's your breakfast of choice, Jed? We're interested to know.
Is it kangaroo on the barber?
We're going for all the hard-hitting questions tonight, chaps. Would you want to play a game outside the UK? And what does Jed have for brekkie? Amazing. Thanks, everyone, for getting in touch, getting views in. This is amazing to see. We keep getting the numbers up as we go along tonight. Don't forget, get your comments and views in on YouTube and X. You can follow us on X at W Yorks Football, and you can follow us also on our Facebook channel. So just search for the West Yorkshire Football Show. Do give the channel a subscribe, give us a like, do spread the word, because listen, we love it, and we absolutely adore our listeners and community to get in touch with us. So let's move on to Bradford City, guys. Listen, if there's one team, we talk about Leeds doing well and Huddersfield getting back to winning ways. At the moment, there's such a good feel factor, isn't it, Gaz? As Graham Alexander started closing the gap at the top. Win at Salford. Dramatic scenes.
Yeah, I'm really, really cautious, as I have been on other pods, to get too excited, because this is Bradford City and I am waiting for it to go wrong all the time. But I was at Bromley last Tuesday. I travelled down and went to the game, and the scenes in the away end, I think Poynton scored the winner with 8 minutes to go, and it was phenomenal. I think they only gave us 500 tickets. City obviously sold out, but they only gave us 500 because they're having the ground redeveloped. But it was absolutely amazing when Poynton scored. And then at the end of the game when we'd won. And I believe it was probably... I didn't go to Salford. That's the reason I've not done a post-match vid this week for Salford, because I didn't go. I was having some family time at the weekend. But again...
I thought you were there, Gaz. I thought you were there.
At Salford. No, we're at Bromley, not Salford.
I watched the highlights after the game, and have you seen that where the guy gets the GoPro? Yeah, like he knocks the GoPro off, and I said to my mum, I said, I wonder if Gaz was the one that grabbed the GoPro.
It's funny because apparently I was spotted on Sky at Bromley, and I was spotted on the video that they did. They do I can't remember what it's called, post match vid, like a behind the scenes type thing that they do after, and I were on that at Bromley as well. But yeah, the GoPro was picked up by City fans. Yeah, even more mental than it was at Bromley, because it was 94th minute winner, having been 1-0 down. And to be fair, during that game, what I saw of it, we were the better side for the majority of it. But daft as it sounds, when we actually equalised and got it back to 1-1, Salford probably had their only spell in the game where they were the better side after that. So I think we scored the equaliser on 74. And then for the next 20 minutes, it was a lot more even than it had been. And Salford were arguably the better side for that 20 minutes. But we've popped up at the end and scored the winner. And that is what teams do when they're going for promotion. Our record, I've been doing a little bit of digging into the stats today. Since we lost to Notts County on the 21st of December, we lost 3-0 away at Notts County just before Christmas. We've played 15 games in the league. We've won 12, drawn 2, and lost 1 of those 15. So we are the form team, not just in League 2, but in the country. And like I said, I'm absolutely dreading that it's all going to go wrong at some point. Hopefully it won't be anytime soon and we'll get over the line. And we've got 12 games left this season. And we've just got I would say we're probably going to have to win 7 or 8 of them to get top 3.
You called us earlier, Gaz. Paul got in touch. Thanks, Paul, for getting in touch. I'm worried about missing Sasvich and Patterson now. And out and these are pivotal to upturning form. You basically said something very similar to me just before we went live on air, and you've said it in our chat as well. Is that a concern going into the next couple of fixtures?
Absolutely, and I've been banging on about it on Twitter and on socials all weekend. It is a huge, huge worry, because since Cook getting injured kind of coincided with Patterson and Sarcevic coming back to fitness. And both of them have been absolutely pivotal in what we've done in this 15-game run. We went through a stage when we were at the beginning of this run where we were protecting them both. And if we were playing 2 games a week, they might only play 1 or 1.5 games. Patterson picks up an injury in the last Tuesday night game that we had at home. It might have been the Saturday game, actually. It was the last home game that we had, I think. He picked up an injury and he went off. And there was sort of worries about how bad it was. Parkinson's. Alexander said afterwards that it was an Achilles injury, but it was hopeful that he'd be fit for the Tuesday night game at Bromley, which he was. He came off the bench at Bromley and played a part in us seeing out in our improvement after the subs were made and seeing out that game. But then he was missing on Saturday at Salford, and as Ian's just said, that was put down to the fact that he was ill and he cried off in the morning ill. So hopefully he's over that Achilles issue, and illness was the only reason that he missed out at Salford. So hopefully that's not too bad, and we will have him for what I did. What I also said to you, Lou, was that this is we've been in a run of 6 weeks where we've played every Tuesday for 6 weeks. This is the last one tomorrow night. So after that, we go to 1 game a week, and I would be hopeful that if we can get through tomorrow night, he would be okay, touch wood, to see us through to the end of the season. The bigger worry after Saturday is Sarcevic, because Sarcevic has been described throughout his career as a bit of a promotion cheat code. His record at getting promoted out of League Two is absolutely phenomenal. I can't remember, is it 5 he's got out of League Two? 6 or 7 in total. And he has been absolutely, totally and utterly influential since he came back from injury. What was noticeable, like I said, we were doing the same with him that we were doing with Patterson, in that we were resting him for midweek games or withdrawing him early in every other game, and he was only playing 1 in 2 and stuff like that. But since Birmingham in the Virtue Motors Trophy, Sarcevic has started and almost finished every game. So he's played 90 minutes twice a week for 2 or 3 weeks now. He actually went down on the turf in the last home game, and it was after Patterson had gone off injured. And it was a collective intake of breath in the fact that, oh no, we're going to lose both of them. And he didn't. He saw out that game. He saw out the 90 minutes, and then he played at Bromley on the Tuesday afterwards. Started at Bromley and was withdrawn. I can't remember how far into the game. Late on, before we scored, but late on, maybe 70 minutes-ish, he came off injured, and you thought, we're just being sensible. But then on Saturday at Salford, he pulled up with his hamstring in the first half. I think it was about half an hour in, something like that. You could tell it was his hammy, the way he pulled up. Hopefully, we've caught it early. Hopefully, he's been sensible enough for us to catch it early and for him to come off before too much damage is done. But the physio came on and was doing the whole strapping his leg in bandages to tighten it and support it, which I'm led to believe is what the first thing you're meant to do for a hamstring injury. Alexander was asked afterwards how bad it was, and he said it was too early to say. But he's the big worry because, like I say, of how influential he's been since in this run that we've been having and since Cook's been injured. Him and Patterson, but the fact that this looks obviously a hammy, and when you're an attacking midfielder playing as a 10, the amount of sprints you have to do, the amount of bursting runs you have to do, it is a huge worry if it is anything, how long he's going to be out for. It's worth noting that Kieran Kelly's been out with a hamstring injury since Wimbledon away, which is 5 weeks ago, and he's a centre-half. So it's going to depend how bad it is. Hopefully it's not too bad. We don't know yet because there's been no press conference or anything since the end of the game at Salford when Alexander said it was too early to say. But we are keeping everything crossed at City that he's all right, because he has been absolutely massive for us in this run. That's the main worry, because all the other injuries I think that we've got at the moment, barring Andy Cook, I think all the others are on the verge of coming back or not too far away. But obviously, Sarcevic is the big one. We just got to keep everything crossed.
I think you speak so much sense, Gaz, I really do. And I think just you can have a bit of a break. So I think everything you said there for me was spot on. Downsy, how do you feel looking outside in at City, where they've built a squad? They haven't just gone for a really good starting 11. Obviously, Gaz has touched on Pattinson and Sarcevic, and obviously Cook. I mean, Ben's mentioned this as well, kind of. What's for change of system is someone else to bag goals up top. But when you're missing key players like this, Downs, you've got to have the right calibre and quality of players to step up, and it seems like City have got that in abundance at the moment, don't they?
Yeah, definitely, and that's what Town haven't had in their injury problems. But we said, didn't we? And me and Gaz have banged on this drum for, well, God knows, since they appointed Alexander, and I was always of the one that said, look, you give him chance, and you let him get his own players in the way he wants to play, and he'll get you going. And he's got City going at the right time, hasn't he? It's all about timing. And I know that this season they have been up there. Early in the season, I think most City fans were having a bit of a, it might not still happen. But the last 6-7 weeks, they've been absolutely perfect, haven't they? I mean, banging goals in. Yes, they've missed Cook. I mean, that's an obvious, but it's also been quite good because it's given them a different way to play as well. the fact that Cook's not there. So they can do both now, and they know that they can do both styles. Sarcevic, as Gaz says, is a cheat code at League Two level. He's just a really, really good player. I think Patterson's a good player as well, to be honest. Like I've always rated him at City. And I think, there's goals coming from different areas, which is great to see. That's what you need in a promotion run, not just the centre forward banging them in. So, let's hope they keep it going. I want City to come up. I think it's about time Bradford City fans have something to cheer about, to be honest. They've been in League Two far too long. And, it's a proper club with proper fans, and they deserve a bit of something to cheer now. And hopefully, unlike last time when they came up, they can stay in League One and build on it. But they've got to get the job finished. I think there's some good teams in League Two. I think as we know, there's some absolute dross. But I think, like Gaz says, and he makes a good point, when the team goes to that one fixture a week, that's when you can slightly have a better recovery period. And let's just hope Sarcevic isn't injured too much, and neither is Patterson. If Patterson's just an illness, hopefully he gets over that quick. I know that there's been a lot of that in the town squad this year, where it's kept players out for a week or so with illness. But it's all about momentum and keeping momentum up. And even if they didn't finish in the top two and they finished in the playoffs, momentum is what gets you promoted. And if you can go into a playoff campaign on the back of wins, then you're confident going into them playoff games. And I genuinely believe that City are, what would you say? Well, at the moment, the top two out there, but I would say they're definitely in the top four of squads in that division. 100%.
Yeah. I think you're right, mate. I think you're right. Paul's got back in touch. Cook missing now means that you play football and not hoofball. Kind of moving on, Gaz, you've got two big games coming up tomorrow. Welcoming back a bit of a former player in recent times. He was really well liked. I remember when I was doing my commentary days at a local radio station, Michael Flynn was one of the funniest people I've ever met in my life. I absolutely remember this, where we were doing a match day -1, and they were going through for the training. This were the days when Flynn were playing with the likes of Gareth Evans and stuff, and Flynn's walking past, and he got challenged to eat a chili, and I've never seen anybody in my life just lose his mind over losing a chili. It was like he was just eating fire. It was one of the funniest things you've seen. But listen, he kind of adored himself to Bradford City fans, and I know he came out in his post-match interview, didn't he, the week, and kind of declaring his kind of love for Bradford City. How do you feel that's going to go tomorrow night against Cheltenham? And I know obviously you got to follow up with Gillingham away on Saturday. Two fixtures that are tough on paper, but ones that, like Dan's used the term, didn't it, momentum, feels like it could be a bit of a pivotal moment again.
I will come on to it. I just want to touch on that style of play Cook thing. There's been a huge debate amongst City fans about how whether the absence of Cook has contributed to his changing style of play, whether we could play the same way if Andy Cook was in the side. Nobody really knows. It would have been lovely to see us playing this formation with Patterson and Sarcevic in the team and Andy Cook in the team to see how we got on. It would have been lovely to see that. Whether we would do it or not, I don't know. And obviously, like we talked about, but Downsy touched on at the start of the season, we had a lot of injuries at the start of the season, and again, it's a what if moment. If we hadn't have had those injuries, would we have been even better in a better position than we are now, because we've had to wait for all these players to come back before we can sort of hit this form. And obviously, last time in League One, we didn't stay there, but I think that were largely down to Eddie Rahic and what went on there. We had a period of time when Lorne and Rose were still in charge, where we were knocking on the door of the Championship, as we know, and then obviously the takeover all worked against us. So I just wanted to get those points in. But Michael Flynn, it's funny you should say that about him being a funny guy, Lou, because a mate of mine was at the Player of the Year Awards when Flynn was there, and he said exactly the same. He said Flynn was just had them all in stitches, proper decent fella, really nice guy, one of the lads, hold a conversation with you. Just a really, really good guy. And I saw his interview post-match on Saturday as well, where he basically talked about what a massive club City are, the love that he has for City, the way he's still in touch. He talks to Ryan Sparks regularly, and yeah, it was just really nice to hear. Obviously, he said amongst all that it's their job to beat us tomorrow night, but other than that, he really hopes that we go up. I think it'll be a tough test tomorrow night. Like I say, it's the last game of a 6-week run where we've been playing on Tuesday nights as well as on Saturdays. The Sarcevic injury, on top of all the other injuries, although, like I said, the others, I think, aren't too far from coming back, touch wood, is a big blow. When we went to Cheltenham earlier in the season, we scored really early doors. I think Burns scored a header from a corner. I can't remember if that was an equaliser. I can't remember if we were 1-0 down, but both goals were early in the game, and the game finished 1-1. And they were a team that played in a very similar manner to how we're playing now, in the very high energy, very high press, in your face. And it'll be very much a game of that tomorrow night from both sides. Like I say, I just don't want to lose the momentum, and momentum's everything at this time of the season. And I am, as a City fan, given how everything goes wrong in your 2 games from a crisis at City, I'm waiting for it to go wrong. But I'm just wanting, you've also got to live in the moment and try and ride the wave for as long as you can. And I hope that we can, if we do win tomorrow night, it'll be a club record, 10 home wins in a row. We've equalled it in the last home game. The record is 9. Like I say, we equalled it in the last home game. I think we've done it twice before, so we will break it if we win tomorrow night. Tough game. Gillingham, our record at Gillingham is dire. I think we won there under McCall when he was in his second spell as City manager, and it was the first time we won there in goodness knows how long. And a friend of mine told me that Gillingham were 14 without a win before the weekend, and he was dreading us going there if they were 14 without a win. But they actually won at the weekend, so that kind of like takes that little bit away that we're going to be as City always are, the side that teams end their winless runs against. But again, it's a really, really tough place to go. It's a place that I've been before, and I don't want to go back because it's such a horrible drive, and you're in that open end behind the goal in the temporary stand that's been there, a temporary stand that's been there for as long as I can remember. But yeah, I said it on the last pod that out of Salford and Bromley, I would have taken 4 points. I feel the same in this game. In these 2 games, I would take 4 points. If you can take 4 points from every 2 games until you get to this 1 game a week, and then you try and go on a winning run from there, I would be happy. It's interesting that, like I say, I made a few notes about City. We are currently on 63 points with 12 games left. The last 4 years since COVID, the third place team, you needed in the season 2020 to 2021, 79 points would have got you third place. Right. 21-22, 81 would have got you third place. 22-23, 80 would have got you third place. 23-24, 79 would have got you third place. So you're talking between 79 and 81 points over the last 4 years. We are currently on 63. I think it'll be higher this year just because there's so many teams going for it. You're looking at the moment 2 teams from 5 to get second and third, because obviously there's us, Donny, Port Vale, Notts County, Wimbledon, who look like they're going for second and third. If we can drag Walsall back into it, I believe that we were 17 points behind Walsall after New Year's Day. Yeah, we are now 4 points behind Walsall, so they are being slowly reeled back in. If we can bring them back into it, and then it is 3 teams from 6 for the autos, that will be even better. But I would imagine it will be more than 79, 80, 81 this year. I would hope that 7 wins from 12 to take us to 84 points. I would like to think that would be enough. If we can win 7 out of 12, we'd be bloody unlucky not to go up. We've just got to keep this run going as long as we can and keep everything crossed that Sarcevic gets back fit ASAP.
Love that. I think that's a really, really good in-depth look at that, guys. I think there's nothing I can even come back with, because it sounds exactly right and makes complete sense. So yeah, thanks, guys. What we'll do is we'll just share a little bit of some of the social stuff, and what we'll do is, I know James has got in touch with us as well previously, and I said I was going to mention this, but I know Downsy's had to shoot off for personal stuff, which is, we want to thank Downsy for making it because he wasn't expected to make it. But what we'll do is, James, if you're still watching, his question was this. But I think what we'll do, James, is when there's a few more of us, I think you'll probably get a better answer in terms of a more rounded answer from the rest of us. James had asked, what are your thoughts on football in West Yorkshire? How does it compare to other regions across the country? I think that's a really good question. And I think what we'll do, James, is we'll carry over for next week when we have a few more of us. Me and Gaz have kind of, I think, probably on the same wavelength as this. But I think it'll create a good discussion point for everyone. So I think if the chaps are going to be tuning in, let's have a think about that. Those who are listening and watching, have a think about that and do get in touch with us next week as well. But we'll pose that question, James, because I think it'll be nice to get other people's opinions, especially likes of Chris, and who has a bit of non-league insight, and Jay and Brownie as well, and Dave. So let's carry that one over. But we've not forgotten about it, James. Just didn't want you to think that we had. So thanks again, everyone. We're amazing to see so many people tuned in. Don't forget, do react to what we've been saying and previewing the upcoming fixtures this week. Get in touch with us on YouTube, like, subscribe the video, like and subscribe the channel, and follow us on X. We do post, obviously, updates on X, and we try and keep everybody up to date with the fixtures that are happening on the day. We are at W Yorks Football, and do search us for on Facebook on the West Yorkshire Football Show. But like I say, on X, we do try and retweet and post comments as well to get you involved and engage with us. So it's really appreciated.
We're going to start looking at non-league now, aren't we, Lou? And I'm going to sort of like take over as little my hosty bit because you're our non-league expert, and I bow to your oracle knowledge on non-league because I know very little about it. We'll obviously start with the National League. Halifax no game, but they remain firmly in that playoff hunt, don't they, in 6th place. Nothing really to worry about after the weekend and the other results.
Yeah, we caught up with Dave, didn't we, earlier today? He actually said, obviously, he's unfortunately able to make it tonight due to work commitments, but he actually said there's nothing to really update on. So it's one of the quickest segments we've ever had on Halifax. But like you say, they're well in the playoff hunt. 6 at the moment. Got Forest Green tomorrow night at the Share, which is a big game. I'm in at home to Yeovil on Saturday. Again, another massive game with Yeovil, on the 11th, 46 points, but 8 points behind the Sherman. So I think, listen, it's not going to be easy against those teams, but I'd suspect that Halifax will be definitely wanting to probably get at least probably 3 points in them games. It's not an easy place to go midweek. It's going to be a horrible journey, let's be honest, for Forest Green to come up here at midweek. And they don't look to me like they're going to get the top spot. They'll probably want to cement playoff spot and get an half-decent run in towards the playoffs. To me, it looks like Barnet, even though they've played a game more than York, it's between them and York to fight it out. I think Barnet, be honest, did call at the beginning of the season, might just have enough in the tank to get over the line. But I think Halifax will be fancying the chances. How many times have we said it, guys, where Halifax turn up against a bigger team in this division? And Forest Green Rovers and Yeovil are definitely some of the bigger teams. And listen, the kind of chasing down the likes of Oldham and Gateshead. Gateshead have picked up in recent weeks after the managerial change, unbeaten in 4 as well. Oldham we haven't had a good run in the past 5 games. You haven't won in those past 5 games. So
no, it's not.
It's a bit inconsistent in the moment. And I think Halifax just have to keep on doing what they're doing. We keep saying it. It's a broken record, but I think they'll be up there, thereabouts again. And these 2 games, it feels to me, doesn't it? And probably you can echo it what you said, Gaz, but you seem when you get to that one game every week and you almost into that final furlong of a season, these games really matter. Not saying any the previous games don't matter, they absolutely do, but you really kind of know and have the minerals of who's going to get thereabouts, don't you? And I think Halifax have got that experience to do it.
I agree. Just like you nailed it, Lou. They've just got to keep doing Halifax things. Chris Milliton keeps doing Chris Milliton things. They're always there and thereabouts. And one day, I'm sure if they keep getting in those playoffs, one day, soon they'll end up back in the league. It's like you say, a massive game tomorrow night. Could be a big playoff buster. Obviously, like you said, I think Forest Green probably just a little bit short of what they need to be to get in that top 2. York have spent big, haven't they? And Barnet have got that squad depth. But massive game tomorrow night. And obviously, I really hope Halifax can get in the playoffs again and hopefully eventually make League 2. National League North next, Lou. Farsley, 6-0 at home. Any more news on them? Anything to say about Farsley based on everything that's been going on? Is there any more updates for starters?
Not what I've seen. I know obviously we're still crowdfunding. and I know Jed's got in touch there saying it's not looking good. Will they survive? Good question, Jed. At the moment, not too sure. They've just got to basically keep raising funds to get them over and through the line at the moment. I said it last week. On the pitch, we can almost pretty much write off the season. That's harsh to say. And many fans, listen, you can stick that on your dressing room door and use it as inspiration, because I really hope they do. But I think we had an average age of 19 against Kidderminster, players who were coming from the academy within the system at Farsley, having to muscle up against full-time team led by Phil Brown. People will know used to be managing the Premier League with Hull City. That's the chasm that they've got to kind of deal with in that National League North now. When you've got an average age of 19 and you're playing against full-time players, it's really difficult. And listen, Kiddie got off to such a good start. I think they were 3 up after 10, 15 minutes. And I was listening and watching the interview with David Stockdale, who's now boss at Farsley, and just felt that they probably went off script a little bit and re-energise them in the second half to get them into some kind of shape and just stick to what they've been told to do, which is difficult when you're young players and inexperienced against absolute, professionals against Kidderminster who are going to be favourites. So yeah, it's a really disappointing 6-0 defeat. Listen, it's going to be really, really difficult for Farsley to survive. Ben, David Stockdale, the keeper. He's a local lad, Farsley. He's had it tough being at Blythe recently. You're going through a similar situation and now at Farsley.
Yeah.
So it's when it rains, it pours. I think the biggest thing now is for Farsley just to get everything settled off the pitch. Off the pitch, almost try and get the pitch going at the Citadel as much as I possibly can. We're in early March. Will they make it to the Citadel this season? I don't know. It's not looking great at the moment, but you just never know. You never know what's possible. And like I say, the biggest thing is to get them the funds to see them through to the end of the season, see what that looks like. But there's going to be changes. But what I will say is credit to everybody involved in there to just keep doing what they're doing. I know David Stockdale said that as well, that you've said it, Gaz, in AFL where you're playing back to back, you're playing Saturday, Tuesday, and full-time professionals are training every other day pretty much and recovering and have got all the fancy gear to do what they need to do. And Farsley, and non-league teams are having to be pretty much playing Saturday, Tuesday, then recovering and maybe just going back-to-back games, not even having training sessions. And that's such a big difference. And when you're of a young age, you were not used to playing in competitive games like this, it's just a never-ending circle of just disappointment when you're losing. So I think Stockdale, like you mentioned in his interview, he can't wait to get him on a training pitch and just work on a bit of shape, just to drill them into him, just get that. And it's a learning curve for him. They're learning on the job, which is never easy. But at the moment, there's nothing off the field that I've really heard about this week, which is a good thing because every week seems to be something different. But it's going to be really tough.
I think just from my point of view, and I think from a general football point of view, it's always heartbreaking when you think, and you said it there, Lou, off the field matters are more important than on the pitch matters. And that's always heartbreaking to hear that, but that is where they're at the moment. The priority can't be on the pitch for now, at least. Let's get them sorted out. Let's save the club and get them where they need to be.
Yeah, and I think as well, Gaz, listen, we're all not naive enough to know this, to know about this, but clubs are preparing for next season. Regardless of what division, you've got plan A, plan B, haven't you? And managers are looking at their players now and going, I fancy you for next season. I'm not too sure about you. And actually, I like this person at this team. And let's see what situation they're in from a contract situation. Are they out of contract? Have they signed one? What does that look like? At the moment, I don't know what Farsley can plan for because obviously we're in this current situation. So you're already on the back foot a little bit, even planning for next season and what that looks like, which makes it even tougher. So they've got to, you're right, Gaz, and this is what we said, haven't we? You've got to focus on the here and now, which is really difficult to say, but they've just got to get the funds and survive as a club and then build on. But yeah, on the pitch, I'd be very, very surprised if they stay up. I mean, listen, in terms of miracles, that would probably, to me, be a miracle if Farsley did stay up based on the squad. I think we've got 15, 16 fit players. We've called out the age and inexperience. It's going to be a real tough ask for him. Sad
at this moment in time, but hopefully we keep everything crossed for Farsley. Next division, we're going to. This is where my non-league interest. My knowledge goes a little bit here, Luke. But we're into the Northern Premier now, aren't we?
Yeah.
Guiseley 1-0 winners at home to Ashton. Max still running away with the league, but Guiseley third and 1 point off Worksop in second.
You know your stuff, mate. It's like
I did a little bit of research because I knew I was
I love
hosting
it.
this.
I love it. No, I love it, mate. Yeah, guys, listen, we spoke about this in recent weeks. Guys haven't won in the previous 4 games prior to the weekend. Lost against Lancaster and Prescott Cables, then drew against Ilkeston and Leek. Without being disrespectful to those teams, listen, you're not going to win every game. We've said that already. But I'd have expected Guys to win at least one of them 4 games, and they didn't. And I know that, Mark Bauer would have definitely wanted a reaction from his players. I said last Monday, this felt like a big game for Guiseley, just like what they did against West Town a month or 2 ago, where they went there and won very convincing. I think it was 4-1 in the end. But what they've done is they've turned up at Nevermore and they've beaten 1-0. A real classic performance from Mark Bauer and Danny Boschel's team. Jake Lawler, who's been in and around non-league for a while, very experienced with a winner after half an hour. And what they've done is held on. And people kind of go, well, why is that important? Well, Guiseley a third, Ashton United a fourth.
Yeah.
They were in different places before a ball was kicked, and now Guiseley jumped above them in 2 points ahead of him, which makes a big difference in this playoff race because Macclesfield, as we well know under Robbie Savage, have been unbelievable, probably beating a lot of people's expectations, despite the money and everything that goes with it, within a relatively novice manager in Savage, who basically put his neck on the line, has done a remarkable job, and he's even been linked with VFL jobs, and I think that shows how strongly he's performed, but also the commitment that he's showing to the club that he's actually willing to stay at Macclesfield despite being involved. He could have easily gone to a League 1, League 2 team that had been linked with him, but they're running a wave. I think we're 23 points ahead of Worksop, which is just remarkable. And I think from Guiseley's perspective in that playoff race, you've got Worksop, Guiseley, Ashton and Stockton. For me, that would probably be the playoff. Stockton look the outsiders at the moment, but nobody wants to go play them, even in the North East. So if they manage to get a good run, that could be really difficult. Guys have just got to get home advantage for me in that playoff. And are more than capable of doing it. We've beaten Worksop. They've obviously beaten Ashton. They're struggling against Stockton away. But for me, that's what the focus is on, is cementing second and put yourself in that driving seat for the playoffs.
Is it one automatic in that division, Lou, and then the playoffs, or is it 2 autos?
Yeah. Promotion through champions and then playoffs.
Yeah. MPL East next. Your boys, Bradford Park Avenue, 2-1 win at home to Ossett. Leaves them 10th, 12 points off the playoffs. Emley, second, but lost 3-0 at Dunstan. Ferriby came back from 2-0 down to win 3-2 at Ashington. Brighouse lost 2-0 at home to Stocksbridge. Liversidge lost 3-2 at home to Concert. Any insight on all that sort of stuff, Lou?
Yeah, I think the table's pretty much settled as way it's going on. The biggest one was Emily losing 3-0 at Dunstan. Dunstan have had a bit of a shaky time recently, and then they've had a couple of half-decent results running up to this game, but to beat Emily 3-0 is outstanding. Dunstan were on the edge of kind of going out of the playoffs recently. I know they suffered a 1-0 defeat to Brighouse, which was extraordinary the other week on a Monday night. So Emily will be looking, if I'm being honest, Cleethorpes and me have won this league.
Yes.
By far and away the best team in this division. I've seen them a couple of times not associated with Avenue. We've actually got them twice to come. I'm going there next Saturday, I think. Is it next Saturday? Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see what that top of the table looks like. What's the marker for everybody to get promoted as. So they just keep on doing. West Yorkshire derby, like you say, between ourselves and Ossett United. Listen, it was a frantic game, chaotic game, just a little bit crazy. You see them games, don't you, where there's little pattern, there's little rhythm. It's just back to back and forth. It's a bit of a tennis match. But what I'll say is Avenue looks a little bit more clinical than Ossett. Ossett pulled a goal back and did throw a fair bit at Avenue, who kind of stuck at it. But listen, speaking to Craig, as I do, he's wanting to finish the season as strong as he can. He ain't looking at playoffs. It's that football cliche, open the book, but it's one of those of it's like every game as it comes, and listen, what will be, will be. We're saying obviously people want us to go on a good run, which 100% feels like the right thing to do. But what he's also said is, he's also said that if you go on a run of 7 games unbeaten, that just seems to happen naturally. You don't set out to go and do that. It's just one of those things that just seem to again, gather momentum, and it happens. So maybe this could be the start. But listen, tomorrow night's a tricky tie to Sheffield FC, world's oldest football club. The pitch isn't great. It's renowned for being very boggy. It's been waterlogged with rain happening in the weekend, with no rain leading up to the game on a Tuesday, and it's still being called off. So it's going to be a very tricky tie for Avenue there tomorrow night, which I'll be there. Stocksbridge defeating Brighouse, which isn't a bad result considering Brighouse have had 2 really good results recently against some really good teams in Ferriby and Dunstan. Gareth just seem to be a little bit outside of playoffs. I think we've probably just about maybe not get there. But I think if Belper had lost against Gareth, I'd have fancied Gareth to sneak in the playoffs. But yeah, I mean, listen, there's plenty of goals around the region. Liversidge losing disappointed to Concert. For me, it's going to be between Brighouse and Liversidge to stay up in our West Yorkshire region. Ossett, I think, might just have enough watching them. They look like they've got enough quality to get through it. But that defeat could easily drag them back into the mix, which hopefully it doesn't, and hopefully all 3 teams get out of it, because they're more than capable of doing it as well.
And can we mention the signing that you told me about off there, Lou, the Park Avenue one?
Yeah. So it's been announced earlier from an Avenue's perspective that Gabriel Wadsworth, brother of Noah at Bradford City, who's joined the club on a 2-month loan deal. So he's come in for Sam Strong-Brown, who got recalled by Doncaster to go to Peterborough Sports. He was on the bench at the weekend. But Wadsworth's come in for 2 months until the end of the season, probably now. Bit of first team experience. And I mean, you've obviously seen him, I think, haven't you, in kind of pre-season, but we actually talked about him right at the beginning of pre-season, ironically, didn't we, of what does that look like from a pathway perspective from the academy of Bradford City? Does he get in the first team? And he's been on the bench a couple of times, Gaz, hasn't he? So it feels like the right time just to give him some match experience, because let's be honest, he isn't going to get it at City the way you're going at the moment.
No, I was a little bit. It kind of come at the wrong time for him, really, because he has made the bench a couple of times. I saw him in pre-season at Chorley. He's a central midfielder, but he was playing right wing back when he came on at Chorley. Looks like he's got something about him, Lou. His brother certainly did as well. So hopefully he does well for you and he can take the next step in his career, because there's something there with him, I think. And like I said, it'll do him the world of good if he has a good loan, and it'll do obviously Park Avenue the world of good as well.
Hopefully, mate. Hopefully.
Northern Counties East League. I picked out 3 from that, Lou. You might pick out more, but Thackley beat Campion 2-0 in a local derby. Wakefield beat Yorkshire Amateurs 4-0. 2 teams in extremely contrasting form there. And top of the table, Silsden getting done 5-1 at second place Hallam. Yeah,
100% right, mate. Picked out the results I've picked out as well. Silsden, at one point, were running away with this division, and now they're being clawed back. They suffered a disappointing home defeat to Winterton the other week. I mean, Hallam, with over 1,000 people there at Hallam, which is remarkable for this division. We talked about Wakefield having, I think, 340-ish the other week. Hallam just kind of breaking records when it happens at attendances. And we talked about pitches out of a bit of a slope. Hallam is phenomenal. You need to see it. It's honestly, it's near vertical. It's amazing. But that's a massive win for Hallam, and it really puts the pressure on Sills, especially with Golka picking up form as well. 5-2 at goal. And like I say, the West Yorkshire derby, Thackley Campion. I know the lads at Thackley were happy to keep a clean sheet, keeps them in the race for the playoffs. Campion have got a bit of work to do, if I'm being honest, to get in the playoffs at the moment. They're capable of doing it, but Thackley just keep doing what they're doing. We speak about Halifax, and we've spoken to Danny Forrest, haven't we, early in this season on the pod, of the togetherness and the quality that they've got. But with recently kind of adding Anthony Brown in towards the end of 2024 as well, going into this season, he's been remarkable. He just scores goals. He's kind of a number 9 they've really needed to fire them goals in from the quality that they've got in around them, like Sir Donovan as well. So yeah, great result for Thackley, and they're going to be one to watch in the playoffs. Nobody will want to play them at all.
You didn't actually make the game in our meet-up over Christmas. We saw Thackley against Silsden, and I was very impressed with Thackley. I thought they played some really good football. Silsden just a little bit more clinical in front of goal at that time, but like you said, being clawed back a little bit now, Lou, so it'll be an interesting end for the season there. Finally, North West Counties. Anything to note there, Steaton and Co.?
Yeah, so Steaton lost 1-0 to league leaders Nelson. It's no disgrace at all. Nelson have got a little bit of money behind themselves and got some really top players in there, like Billy Priestley, people may know as well. Has been captain there. So they've that was no shame at all from Steaton. Alswick lost 2-0 at Pilkington, and then Route 1 Rovers got a 2-1 win at Ashton Town. So it's looking tight at the bottom in terms of the league table from a First Division North perspective. Alswick, I think, trying to look at Alswick, where they are in the league, mid-table 14th. They're not going to go down. They're not going to get in the playoffs. It's a very steady way, is what it is. But at the bottom of the league, Route 1 have closed the gap, so to speak, but have played one game more than Steaton. They're 7 points adrift. So it isn't looking great from Route 1. It's probably one of them two, and unfortunately, it looks like Route 1 might potentially drop out of there. But listen, you put a run on together, they could catch Font and Cleveries. That's going to be tough. And I think what's going to be really interesting is, depending on how the season goes, just kind of jumping a little bit back to the North East counties, is if Silverstone do go up, it'll be interesting to see if they go into the MPL East with the rest of the West Yorkshire, or because of their position, they might go to the West region as well.
Nice.
So that could be a bit of a shuffle around. So that could be interesting, which again has a big effect. We speak about Route 1 trying to attract players, not traditionally based in Bradford, but having to play at Northwest because they're playing at Marley. And there's a fair bit of travelling there. So that, again, it's all kind of geographical conundrums that teams at this level have to manage with. But listen, it's one that you just thought somehow they can stay up, but it's not looking too great, unfortunately.
Anything else in non-league that took your eye, Lou? Anything you want to mention before we wrap up? I'll hand back to you to wrap up.
No, I think we've done a good job there, sir, haven't we? 1 hour 25. We've had Downs making a guest appearance, and I think we've absolutely smashed that one out the park, both of us, which is amazing. And we just want to say thanks so much for everybody who has got in touch over comments and got involved and liked and subscribed. Really, really appreciate it. Don't worry, we will be back this time next week, all being well, that the actual lads can actually be bothered to turn up. But if not, me and Gaz will actually hold a fort again, and we'll show them how to do it. Thanks, Ben, for the kind comment. Great stream, guys. Thanks, Ben. Thanks for joining us.
Cheers,
really
mate.
appreciated. So listen, what we'll do is we'll wrap up, but don't forget, the lads will be back probably during the week. Do keep an eye on our social media channels, like I say, on YouTube, on X at W Yorks Football, on Facebook by searching the West Yorkshire Football Show. Obviously, we've got midweek games, which we've obviously previewed. So no doubt Downsy will do a town talk with some of the lads and maybe Kane. And also we've got Brownie and Jason probably reflecting on Portsmouth's game on Sunday, whether that's a Sunday night or on a Monday evening job to join us lot. We'll wait and see. But do keep it tuned. We will let everybody know we're going. So I think that's it, guys. I think we're done, haven't we, mate? Good job.
I'm proud of us, mate. Pat ourselves on the back. We did well there, mate. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your evening up the West Yorkshire Football Show.